So for a while, I've been listening to God, right? So, and there are many, I think, landing places for that. We can get to, a lot of people come home to themselves when you start studying, true Kabbalah. You see that it's you, but when you have, a really deep understanding, a really profound understanding of God and what that might be, and you know that it's you, but you also know that it's much more than you. It's everything that you're looking at. It's everything, all the streams of consciousness, all of them. And also, I know that a significant amount of us are in we're not in the shared server anymore. I just don't, I used to be able to kind of relate to certain things, but I can't even really relate to it. I understand it. I just don't relate to it at all. So I know that with the ascension, it's a removal from the shared server that everybody else is in, kind of thing. And I think that my understanding of God has gone through an evolution just in and of itself. I think when I started this experience, I never imagined that I was God. Never. That's not where I was going with it. It's not where my mind, I never went there. I don't think I had ever been exposed to that idea that I am God. For all intents and purposes, I'm the God in my life. Yeah.
Well,
Confirmation. And that there are other things out there. Multiples. There's a voice that's been talking to me. He's been talking to me for a couple years now. He calls himself Gamaliel. I met him on top of a mountain, and we are together all the time. He's not separate from me, but he is separate from me. His consciousness is separate from mine, even though we share our stream of consciousness. 254 on the timer when I said that. So very interesting stuff. Should I talk about that? So I think that, and it's not that I think, there's a significant amount of evidence, not just anecdotal either. When we talk about quantum mechanics and things like that, we talk about groupthink, we talk about mob mentality, stuff like that. It's all very true that when humans get together, or when they, even on an individual level, when we create egregores, group thoughts, we create this kind of overarching idea of things. And in this video, I'm talking about God, so this idea of God. But when you look at how things like the demiurge got created, it's a twisting of the purity of the human mind. And because it's very clear that naturally we don't come all fucked up. We get that way. And I think that our ideas of God are really what fucks it all up, honestly. Here you go, baby. I know that for a significant amount of time I believed in the God of the Bible, and it could only take me so far though. 444 on the timer. It was I kept hitting this glass ceiling in my own mind, and I couldn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me why that was happening. The back of my head has been itching I cannot, like, there's nothing wrong with my scalp. I don't have dandruff. There's nothing. And I just washed my hair yesterday. So, like, what the fuck? No new products, nothing. Just itchy. Like the kind of itchy you just want to, like, I don't want to scratch my scalp, you know? I have, like, super healthy scalp, super healthy hair. I don't know, just one of those things. Okay, confirmation for that. But when we have these ideas in our minds, we can create these kind of twisted versions of what it really is. And I think that's why, I mean, we see that in, you know, the mainstream, like, Catholicism and Christianity. You know, we see people believing in a demiurge. There's no other word for it. They're literally believing in a God that is both Satan and God, which makes no sense. I know, because I kept hitting that. Like I said, I kept hitting that glass ceiling in my own mind. And, like, realizing that it wasn't working. Like, these ideas are not congruent. This is not a coherent idea. There's something wrong here. And, like, I felt that fundamentally. Like, my body felt it. And yet, I couldn't, you know, there's nowhere to go outside of the church that will even listen to those ideas. So, you know, and seeing, like, the just, like, truly jacked nature of God in the church. It's absolutely, it's ridiculous. And then when you start, I was led through a lot of studying witchcraft, a lot of it, and all kinds of stuff. And I don't think witchcraft is good or bad. I really think it's neutral. It's us that apply our energy to it and make it one way or the other. But I started realizing, like, the more you study the witchcraft, that whole thing, and then you learn about, like, Kabbalah, like, you know, like, actually the fundamentals of where all magic practice comes from. All of it. Even the Zoroastrian stuff, like, it's just all comes from one place. And starting to realize that this whole world is really just ruled by a couple jackass magicians. Are you fucking serious? And, like, the realization that just a couple people have ruled this world for so fucking long, you know, and even if it's, like, different people, like, the same consciousnesses have ruled this world. I thought it very interesting that at first I thought that Gamaliel was the biblical Gamaliel, right? Although he knows all about ancient Hebrew law. I mean, you name it, he knows it. He knows it. My guide, this Gamaliel that hangs out with me. And I think I remember looking it up, but I remember kind of dismissing it at the time because I was still operating out of a significant amount of religious beliefs, religious mindset. But he's the Gamaliel, apparently, that's in the Gnostic Gospels. The one that's like one of the 4 powers in heaven. Bella, please don't bark, baby. Belle. And, which explains a lot. Go on, bud. Hey. Every time that dog walks by, I think she just wants to play with him. Or eat him, I'm not really sure. But, when we start getting out of all of that dualistic thinking and we get out of the, you know, believing in this God that, like, demands blood sacrifice for the remittance of sins, like, what kind of fucking monster is that? and a God that would condemn you to an eternal damnation in hell when He's the one who made you a sinner. What? So, like, there's a lot of things that don't make sense in that whole dualistic view. And really, truly, I'm finding that any kind of separation is really just a lie. It's just an illusion. But, that evolution of understanding who and what God is, from every angle that we can. Because I know that not everybody's perception will allow them to see. You have to do the inner alchemy. You have to do the inner work. You have to do the work on yourself, the inner work, 1-0 pi power in the timer, in order to even be able to see past the veils. You can't see past the veils if you don't do the alchemical work. You just can't. That's just the way it works, period. And how I thought I knew, I mean, at least I didn't think I knew, like, the ultimate, but I thought I had a pretty good idea of what was going on, and then it just keeps getting weirder, and it's just weirder and weirder. But that evolution of what we understand God to be, who and what, is a significant part of it. And I think that if you're on this path, it doesn't really matter what I think. It's just been my experience that when you're on the path, your evolution of understanding God changes. It's not the same idea or even collection of ideas that it was when I first started out, not even close. And I had a lot of I always called the Father, like I always called him that, and 12 on the timer. But I'm getting to the point now where it's really a really intimate internal conversation with myself, and I don't mean any kind of it's that know thyself. Plato said it, but really it was the Pythias that wrote that on the oracle at Delphi, because of course the women from that time got swept under the rug. Really, it was the Pythia, not the Platonists. It was just the Platonist stuff that survived. Has anyone looked at the Sibyllian oracles? If that's not the Bible, I don't know what is. I mean, we got the Bible, but there was also the Sibyllian oracles. When you read it, you can tell what was, who was doing what at the time, because they're so close to the Bible, very close to the New Testament, extremely close. I think they just took, they couldn't canonize the Sibyllian oracles because it would have taken the power away from the church. So the church basically took what they wanted from the Torah and the Sibyllian oracles and made a Bible out of it. That's our Bible. Now, considering how beloved my Bible is to me, it is a significant thing. Believe me, I love my Bible. My Bible has always been one of my most beloved books. It's down here somewhere. It's being held together by masking tape. I have videos of me with my Bible on this channel. It's like barely being held together by some masking tape. I love that Bible so much. And when you start realizing how much of your life was a lie. I mean, everything about it, everything. Even the Bible. Yeah. It becomes a real head trip. I think anybody would struggle. I wouldn't even say struggle, but just you don't really know where to turn. What do you believe in? What do you hold on to anymore? I would say nothing really. There's not really anything to hang on to or believe in anymore, because I've gone down all of them. I've looked. Is this true? Is that true? Is this true? I was only looking for the truth. And more I'm finding there's objective truth, and that's it pretty much. Everything else is subjective. Everything else depends on the perception, the perspective of that particular person in a particular time. So, I think that looking for objective truths is, I can say it's not really helpful in the sense of like emotionally, is it helpful? No, not really. But the more like the higher up you go, the more there's nothing else around to hang on to. Like nothing at all. And I remember getting to this point many times and having the conversation with myself like, do you realize we're not like there's nothing to hang on to? There's no guardrails up here. No guardrails at all. And it can be disconcerting. Because you always fucking had something to hang on to before, but now you don't. You have nothing to hang on to. Confirmation. All you have is yourself and the best laid plan you could come up with to make it through the next level, whatever that is. Pardon me, I've just been going through some really weird shit lately. Anyway, we went on a nice hike today. That was nice. My feet are filthy though. Note to self, wear closed-toed shoes next time. Anyway, your idea of God has to evolve. You have to evolve. I heard a quote the other day. It said something like, you're on the right path when the path disappears, when there's no delineation between, you just know where you're going. And I find that when I like actually sit and try to apply my logical mind to that, it's kind of anxiety inducing. And yet when I sit with it and just let it be, let it flow, everything's fine. Some very contradictory stuff lately. Anyway, or it seems that way anyhow. Paradoxes often seem that way, I think, because we want to apply our human logic to it. And it just simply isn't that way. In the spirit, there's a kind of spiritual logic to it, but that spiritual logic is very much like Alice in Wonderland type shit, Yeah, that kind of logic. That's like spiritual logic. It makes sense in a totally nonsensical way. Anyhow. I hope that makes sense to you. It makes sense to me. Anyway, I genuinely hope this video finds you blessed. Love, blessings, and compassion to everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Peace be with you.